Facility Committee meeting, and gonna ask Ms. Coons today if she would open us up with prayer.
Bow our heads, please. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for the opportunity today to come together in your presence. Lord, we ask that you stay with us and guide us as we go through these items today on this agenda, that you lead us to make the best decisions for our community, for our students, for our faculty, and our staff. Christ, and we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Ms. Coons. First on the agenda, I believe we have the Valdosta High School track dedication, Coach Mitchell.
Good afternoon to you all, to this committee. I want to say thank you to Dr. Hudson for allowing this opportunity in this committee. I'll be brief as I possibly can. I had a conversation with Dr. Hudson a couple days ago about this, or actually last week about this. There are two gentlemen, Coach Jerry Dunn Baker and Coach Freddie Waters, who I'm quite sure most everyone here knows, developed a track program at Valdosta High School, dating back to with Coach Baker in 1976. He actually started the track program, girls track program. Coach Waters, to my research, I can go back to 1978 moving forward. Now, he didn't start the track program, the boys track program, but he certainly from 78 on to his time he left, retired, certainly had a great impact on the track program at Valdosta High School. Between those two gentlemen, of course, they both are in the Wildcat Hall of Fame. Between the both of them, talking about a combined total of 9 region titles, 2 state championships, and with the amount of time we had, I can go on and on about the number of records that was set and broken and reset through all the athletes that ran track for these two gentlemen. And then you're talking about a combined total of 20 plus years of service that they gave to the track program here. With that being said, I think it would be fitting to ask for you all's blessing, this committee and of course the full board, that we dedicate the track side of Valdosta High School, the Baker Waters Track Complex. I just, with the impact and the legacy they left, especially with the track program, I just think that would be fitting for those two gentlemen that gave so much to this community.
Did Coach Jones play any factor in the track program?
He was I know he was coaching track before Coach Waters. Again, I know Coach Waters came into play in 1978, to my knowledge.
Well, I know Coach Jones was a big star at Alabama, Fort Valley State. Do we have any research on that?
I would
If
definitely.
we're going to do this, we need to make sure that all of these folks are included.
Do some research.
Yeah, we don't want to step outside our area and not give other folks credit that has. And even you stated you didn't know who started up the program. We should be able to get that information. Should be some people still living on who started up the program at Valdosta High. Am I on the right track?
You are, and I can tell you this. I've asked, and I started with Coach Baker because I know he has a wealth of knowledge with the track, and even our lengthy conversation, he couldn't pinpoint and say who started the boys track program, and he's helping me gather a lot of information. So we are doing due diligence and trying to research and find.
Yeah, let's
Is Coach Jones still alive?
No, he's deceased.
Is he?
Yeah.
I just
Let's see, Coach, if we can get some little more the superintendent
Okay.
information on this before we actually start naming and giving, due diligent credit on individuals in regards to something like that. I think it's a great idea,
Yeah.
but we want to make sure that other folks may need to be included in that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm with you. I like the idea. We just may need to add a few names on it so we can take care of everybody.
Okay. All right. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice shirt.
Okay, next up is WG9 Paint and Renovation, our facility director,
Good afternoon.
Ms. Novus.
We received bids for the W Nunn painting renovation on February 23rd, 2023 at 2 p.m. here at Central Office. We received 5 bids in total, and the low bid was from Tyco Construction at $76,544.85. We took some time since then to reach out to their references and make sure that they had completed projects of this size and nature. So we've done our due diligence and got good feedback. So we are recommending that we accept the low bid from Tyco Construction in the amount listed, and ask to award contract to them. And you do have the bid tabulation behind the agenda, so you can see the numbers, how they came in.
Where's he out of, Ms. Moe?
He is out of
Waycross?
Blackshear, I think, yes.
Do you know how many, was it one reference or multiple? And
No, it was
what
multiple,
type of
about-
jobs had they done?
So, they've done some school painting, different facility painting, commercial work such as that.
Did we discuss these bids going out, or did I miss a meeting?
We had, this was discussed 2 or 3 weeks ago at some meeting, and they tabled it to do the research on the things. I do know that.
It's been
This
longer
isn't the
than
first
that.
time we've heard it.
Yeah.
Okay.
They wanted to look into his references and stuff because of the,
Was this the one that Mr. Sermons put in for, that?
That's correct.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
And the due diligence has been done to make sure that, the one so far has the lowest bid, is capable of doing the job and doing a good job.
Yes, sir.
and Mr. Chair, it is bonded job too, so we do have a stat, we got, they had a 5% bid bond. They put a payment performance bond on it as well.
Right.
That's in their pricing here, right? So we've got to, don't want to have to use it, but we do have it if we need it.
Yes, sir.
That's a safety precaution for
Yes,
all
sir.
of us.
Yeah.
Okay, so, we're gonna recommend this at our next meeting.
Yes, sir.
Tuesday night.
Okay, YMCA summer program, camp uses.
Yes, sir. The YMCA has been using, well, in the past, several summers, they've been using the old Valdosta High School to host their summer camp program. Now that that building is no longer existing, we have looked into several facilities. They're asking for our partnership again, and we have looked into using the gym at Becca. They have turned in all the necessary paperwork as they have in previous summers, but they are asking to utilize the gym at Becca this summer. So we just wanted to bring that to the committee and make sure that that was good with you guys. And I'm not sure if this needs an official approval, but we did want to make sure everyone was aware and that you guys are.
Any use of facilities must have the board's official approval.
Okay.
I think I'm right on that.
I believe so.
I
I
have
do
no
think, Mr.
objection.
Chairman, it's a great program.
Yeah,
and
I have no
it takes
objection.
care of our children, and anything we can do to help the likes of the YMCA and the Boys and Girls Club, I'm 100% for all the time. So, and any other type organization that takes care of our youth. So, and they do have all the they have the insurance and they have everything in place, and I think it's a great thing.
Okay. Thank you.
Ms. Combs, you have anything to add?
No, I completely agree.
Okay. Stadium use.
We had a lady reach out to us several weeks ago, Miss Debbie Cruz, and she was inquiring about the use of the stadium this fall for a community-wide praise and worship event. Their date is flexible, but she has asked about the evening of October 14th, 2023. VSU does not have a home game that weekend. So that's kind of how that date came about.
What date?
October 14th.
So that's a Saturday night.
Yes, ma'am. And and they're asking to host. It would be a community-wide praise and worship event with some bands. They're asking to bring in a stage and set up on the field, similar to, you know, what others have done in the past with graduations and whatnot. So I have sent the paperwork to her, but I also wanted to bring this to the board, for approval.
But I guess the only thing that concerns me is somebody's bringing in something to set up on that field. We certainly don't want to
No, ma'am, we don't.
mess that field
But
up.
it would be similar to what we've done in the past with stage for graduation. You know, of course, we would make sure that they have all the necessary, protocols in place for field protection.
What's the, I assume do we have a game that Friday night?
You know, I'm not sure.
There's lots gonna have to be taken care of here, even though we're talking about a community event, and I think probably, is this a nonprofit status? Who is it? I mean, what background? does she have?
Who is this really other than Debbie Cruz?
I think it's going to be the compilation of several local churches.
You see, we need all that information.
Yeah.
We just can't prove something like this is a lot of liability we're talking about here right now.
Okay, I will ask her to get me some additional
Yeah,
information.
details on who's
specific
involved
churches
and,
that are
yeah.
involved
And the
in-
type of stage they're looking at putting out there, because we already know we're gonna have to replace that turf.
Yes, ma'am.
So the worst thing we can do is have an event out there and damage is done, and we know how long it takes to get anything like that of that magnitude put down, let alone repaired. So let's get a little more information on that.
And Mr.
Yes, sir.
Chair too, also Casey, I'm just thinking through this, and it may be something we need to talk to legal on. But if you've got, if it's not if they haven't come together and formed one entity, then you're looking at all those different entities having to fulfill the insurance requirements and so on and so forth.
Right.
So you got to figure out how they're put together as well, because that becomes, it's to your point.
Okay, I'll do that. I'll follow up with her and get some additional
And also,
information.
let's do due diligence in following our normal protocol and check with our head coach, see what he has to say in regards to the type of
And I have
things
done
that
that.
are going on out there in regards to especially platform that they'll be standing on. I know he's not here with us anymore, but that was a no-no on one of the coaches that felt like that a lot of damage could be possibly done to the field. So, but we're willing to, I think I can speak for the committee and the board, we're willing to look and see what, if anything possible we can do to assist with this event, which naturally is needed, but we want to make sure that all areas are covered.
Yes, sir. Okay.
Valdosta High School baseball, softball complex update.
Just a quick update on that. We do have movement out at Valdosta High School. The temporary fence is up. We've got silk fence going up, and mobilization is underway, so we have heavy equipment coming in as we speak to start on lane clearing out there, so.
Somebody posted something midday today. Yeah.
I was excited.
Yes,
Moving dirt. Everybody's happy now.
that's right.
Good.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Dr. Hudson, FTE review.
Yes, sir. You should have a copy at your place there about FTE review for each school in our district. We'll start with Lomax. Lomax was occupied in 2005, and the IU is for instructional units. That's the number of classrooms, spaces there at the school. So they have 48 instructional units, and the school was built for 750 FTEs. And so currently we have 580 FTEs over there as of today. And so they have space for another 170 FTE students. Pineville was occupied in 2012. They have 52 instructional units. It was built for 825 FTEs, and they currently have 614 over there. And so that's space for 211 more. WG Nunn was occupied in 2009 with 69 instructional units. It was built for 1,075 students. Currently, they have 924, so they have space for 151 more. SL Mason was occupied in 2008 with 72 instructional units. It can hold 1,125 students. They currently have 903, so they have space for 222 more students over there. Salis Mahone was occupied in 2000. Of course, we added a few additions on a few years later, but they have 72 instructional units. It can hold 1,125 FTEs. They currently have 1,104, so they're very close there. So they have about 21 more spaces until they reach their max capacity. So, based on what the state is looking at, the state says that we have a total of 4,900 FTEs at our elementary schools, based on instruction units and the space. Currently, we have 4,125 students out of that 4,900 before we reach max capacity. So we still have space at our elementary schools for 775 students. Now, at the middle school, you see Valdosta Middle was occupied in 2002 with 74 instructional units. It could hold 1,200, and we're currently at 1,012. So they still have space for about 188 more. Newbern was built in 1994 with 55 instructional units. It can accommodate 875. They currently have 718 over there, so they still have space for 157 more. And then Valdosta High School was occupied in 2018. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
2018 with 125 instructional units. It was built for 2,425, and we currently have 2,082 over there, so they still have space for 343 more students.
It was built for how many?
2,425 FTEs. They currently have 2,000. Their current enrollment is 2,082, so they have space for 343 more students over there. So,
what happens, like at Sauce Mahone, they've got 21 spots until they, or something, don't check my math because I'm not a math person, until they hit max capacity. What happens at that point?
what will happen there is we have some students over there that are out of zone. And so those students that are out of zone, once those spaces open up, once they move on to the middle school, we won't allow any more out of zone requests to take place, because we have to hold space for those families that actually move into that district.
What if those that are out of zone that are there are not ready to move
Right.
to the middle school? Do
Then-
you tell those families then,
We
hey,
can-
our students take precedence and you're
We-
out of zone,
Right.
and we're at max capacity, so you got to go?
That's correct. We can bump those families back to their original home school.
Do we know how many that we have out of district over
Not
there?
off the top of my head, but I can get that information for you.
Okay.
Okay.
I mean, I think, especially with that one, since we are so close, I think that's something we
Yeah.
might want to check and have handle on, because, I mean, you have an influx of new military families in over the summer, which they move around a lot
Right.
during the summer, and we're going to be at max capacity at that school. So,
Right. So again, at the elementary level, I know the talk has been, we need another elementary school. Yes, we could use one. But again, if we're looking for the state to provide funds for an additional elementary school, they're not gonna provide any funds because we haven't maxed out our full FTE for all 5 of our elementary schools.
Some of those schools are better now than they were, because we were over capacity
We were-
in
that's
some
correct.
past
That's
years,
correct.
I'm pretty sure.
That's correct. So, new elementary.
Piggyback on Scoon's comment. Now, the ones that are coming in out of zone, and I know parents listen to these committee meetings that we have and others, are we advising the parents when they enroll their children into our system that there's a probability that we may have to tell them they can't come next year the same school because of them living out of zone?
That's correct. When they,
Kind of elaborate on that,
Yes, sir.
because that could be a big problem for us if we're not.
yes, sir, when they do the House Bill 251,
Matter of fact, maybe something in black and white need to be given to those parents.
when they
Something for our attorneys to probably
Right.
get involved with.
when they complete the form for House Bill 251, on that form it states that it's year by year. And so it's based on a couple of things. Number one, if they go over there and they misbehave and their attendance is a problem, then they can be bumped back to their home school. And then the third thing is if we run into situations like this, then they can be bumped back to their home school because of the lack of space. So
So the parents
it's on,
privy to that information
on the House
when
Bill
they bring their children?
on House Bill 251.
So the only way you're going out of district is through the House bill now,
That's
right?
correct.
Because I remember years ago, because we stopped it due to the influx on Salis Mahone
That's right.
in general, and
That's right.
WG Nunn actually at the time, I think, was in that kind. But we grandfathered everybody that was there in, but we
Yes.
stopped that
We stopped
practice.
That's correct.
Now,
And
the
so-
House bill, whatever it is,
251.
251, all right, so explain to us how that, what's the meat of that? But is it if you're not at capacity?
That's correct.
So because I know in the last 5-6 years, we only had one or two schools
That's correct.
that actually you could House Bill 251 into because of the population.
That's correct.
Now, you House Bill 251 into any school we've got, elementary.
Well, we can determine, so again, with
I'm
South-
asking that
right,
question.
Okay.
Because it's a law.
Right, it is a law. So House Bill 251 is based on space at a certain school. So if there's space at a school, then you can make that school available to parents that want to put in a request to have their child move from this zone to that zone where space is available. But if we as a district deem that there's no space available in Salis Mahone, we can deem that there's no space available. So my thing is, this coming May, when we put out that House Bill 251 form, Salis Mahone will not be an option because we're already at capacity.
Oh, yeah, I think
So we will put JL Lomax on there because we have seats there, and we will put Pineville on there as well as WG Nunn and what's the other school? SL Mason, we still have some seats there. So House Bill 251 is based on the available seats that you have at a school. If the district deems that there are no available seats, then House Bill 251 does not apply to that school.
So basically, Salis Mahone's the only one that it won't apply
That's
to.
correct. That's correct.
If these numbers end up that way.
That's correct, yes.
Okay.
Okay. So House Bill 251, when it's offered in May for next school term, Salis Mahone will not be a choice.
If you would, get us a copy of that bill. See if our attorney can get us one and have each one of us a copy at our next meeting. It's something we all need to be a little more familiar with.
Yeah, because I've been asked several times in the last 3 weeks on transfers and whatnot.
Okay.
I'll still operate under the old rule. Can't do it.
Okay, all right. Any questions about FTE? Where we
Any
are?
more questions?
I'm good.
Blackcrow Media Broadcasting Contract.
Okay, you should have a copy of that. Yeah, well, you know what, I emailed y'all a copy. Do I need to make,
I have.
did you bring it with you? Okay.
I didn't bring it.
You
yeah. I
did
just saw
email it, and I didn't
yesterday.
print it, but
Okay, good, I'll get you.
you can just, I can listen.
I read it, I just didn't bring it.
Make me, just write it back.
You want, you,
No, I've got it.
don't
I
worry
read
about it. No,
yesterday, yeah.
I can follow along. I've got it on the email.
Okay, all right, Mr. Lee wanted me to, put this on the agenda for discussion among.
Did we agree to, did we approve this last year? I thought it was supposed to have been up this year. That's what we were told.
I can't remember, is it a year-to-year or 2-year or 3-year
Well,
deal?
it was 3 years.
It was 3 years, wasn't it?
That got by us because we don't have anything for 3 year in regards to
This was
our
signed,
contract.
this was signed on August the 2nd, 2022,
That been last year.
this past.
I have
And
no
again,
idea off of memory today, but I'm,
Contract is
But we had this,
5,600.
and I was very adamant in regards to a 3-year contract.
Yeah,
That wasn't going, that just wasn't what the board needed to be doing. And that was a consensus that shouldn't be.
of course, this is, but if, so what is this? I mean, cause it's not, do we
This is
have
not
a truly
received as a-
executed
this is
copy
not
of this?
received. There's not-
That's
This is it?
That's a copy of the executed copy.
It's not completed.
It doesn't even have Ken
Doesn't have the
Bobrowski's
top,
signature.
I mean, we don't even know, I see
You got,
this.
yeah, you got the signatures there.
Yeah, I see signatures,
But
but,
the agreement,
I
the
see the
entering
witnesses.
date and ending is not here. That's why I thought you would have a written copy.
Like her person's
That
signature,
information
not
at the
even on
top.
it.
you got Beth
Is it filled in?
She's
I
a
see what they
witness,
signed.
Yeah, they signed it,
Yeah,
yeah.
there's a witness.
That's
so
all
it's
we
not
have, that's all I
signed.
have there in the folder.
That's not a completed
It's
contract.
not even signed by the station manager.
I'm not an attorney, and I can tell you that.
It's not even signed by the general manager. There's a witness signature from them, but there's no signature from their manager.
So what we can do is we can just get Ms. Pegler or whoever from Black Crow Media, we can get them back in here to come, and we can have more discussion about it and do this again.
Yeah, because I decided, in scanning it,
We didn't approve this, Mr. Sherwood.
I don't even see a, okay, term the initial term of the agreement shall commence on the date
Through
of
December.
continuing until December 31st of 2024,
Mhm.
Which is next year.
which would be,
Hold on.
so we'd have 2 more football seasons,
This one and one more, that's correct.
yeah. I'll remember it, but,
No, we didn't agree for this to be done.
but it's, I guess we need to see if we have a truly executed copy of this would be the first thing to request. And they may have that, I don't know, but we probably
But
need,
if they had it, we should have it here.
yeah,
I
we
can't see
should,
them having it and then
And
not
that's
being
not.
here.
you would think.
Yeah,
I won't comment any further on that part.
I understand.
Okay, so what I'll do is I'll get with Black Pro Media and get a copy.
Yeah, here you go, you can have that back, Doc.
That's 16.
But the main thing is,
That's 19.
we need to go year to year with these contracts. If not year to year, no more than 2 years.
I would think, 3 may be a stretch, I
Yeah,
agree with
3,
you on that.
I won't go with 3, I'll go with 2.
But 2-year probably may get you a little better deal.
Well, stability.
That's right,
Yeah.
and it gives them a chance to build a team and whatnot. Because the big key to it is, of course, I mean, it is, of course, it's not an exorbitant amount of money, but it's, to me personally, it's who they have doing the work that's important. Because you don't want to, I mean,
Well,
you
there
can
are
get
other-
some people up there
but
that is not
there
very.
are other folks can do. I've been contacted. There are other folks that's professionals as far as doing games. So,
Games, yeah.
And I wouldn't get involved. I'd let if that come up, I let my people.
Sure.
handle it.
Oh, yeah.
But
Well, and every
we're
two,
not gonna, I'm
every-
not gonna sit on this board and not just even for my business, but let anybody have a monopoly over business.
no, well,
just not- that ain't
you've
gonna
got to
happen.
bid that stuff,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
periodically,
But in the past, it's been that way.
yeah.
That ain't gonna. That's not going.
Well, it had been doing every 3 years, so at least it was getting touched, but I don't know what happened on that.
Yeah. Well, we had discussed that, we wanted to make sure that was 2 years instead
Yeah.
of 3,
Yeah,
and that was bypassed.
apparently.
Okay, so what I'll do is I'll reach out to Black Crow Media, get a fully executed copy of the agreement. And then I'll get everybody a copy of it. Okay? Chair, is there anything else with the Black Crow? And we wanna move to a 2-year deal?
No,
Moving
no,
forward?
sir. No, sir.
Okay.
Weapons detection system, Sabrina Smith. Mrs. Smith,
Good afternoon, beautiful people.
good afternoon.
Hello.
Thank you all so much for being here. I will try not to keep you longer than necessary. Just this year alone in the United States, we've had 12 school shootings that have resulted in injury or death. And I know one of the things that we, as a district, pride ourselves on is being able to provide a safe learning environment for our students, our staff, parents, and visitors to our campus. So the question is, what can we do to make sure that our extended family feel safe when they're on our campuses? And the response to that is to find a proactive measure that can help us to ensure the safety of our students and staff and visitors when they come. And when we look at school safety, it is not necessarily just about school shootings, but again about the feeling of safety. That I believe that what we are doing as a district to help alleviate some of the pressure, the stress, and the worry about what could happen. We're in a society today, I'm sure you all are aware of the climate of the increase in gun violence throughout the nation. Not just necessarily in school shootings, but mass shootings and targeted shootings and isolated incidents around the country. So at the beginning of last year, starting in last year, started to research some options of what we could do as it relates to preventing and deterring weapons from being brought into our schools. We do know, of course, just in recent news, we had the shooting in Denver, where 2 administrators were shot. Then we had a 6-year-old who took a firearm to school and shot his teacher. And so, again, the question comes in, what proactive measure can we take? So there are 2 systems that we've looked at. And one is what we would consider a traditional metal detector, which is what you have right after you have the memo that I did with the comparison of the pros and cons and the description of the 2 systems. The first sheet that you run into is the Garrett PD 6500i, which is like a traditional metal detector. And this is what we've seen. We currently have 2 in the district, but we only have 1 that's functioning, and that's what we use at Horn Learning Center. It requires 1 person to go through at a time. Should there be an alert on that system, it will, of course, identify the alert with a light on the front of the system. That person has to be individually searched. You go take off a belt, you go back through, you take off a watch, you take off jewelry, whatever the case may be, and you keep going through. The number of staff members that it takes to man one of those systems will just be dependent on how many kids that you have going through. For that size campus, you're looking, it takes a good little bit for the students that we have there. Also with this system, it's very time consuming. Once we start, when we look at the capacity of our schools, which Dr. Hudson just explained with our FTE numbers, we look at the capacity, we have approximately 85% of our students who are ride buses. And then you have the other ones who are car riders. So providing the time, elementary school, from the time they start opening the doors at 5 after until 7:45, that's only 40 minutes to get that entire population of students and even staff through a traditional metal detector for them to get in to the campus to begin their day. With this traditional metal detector, it comes with a 3-year warranty. Of course, they provide you with the wand that you would have to utilize should there be subsequent need to isolate where the threat is. It's a very inexpensive system, runs about $5,000 per. It'll pick up all metal to include guns, knives, belt buckles, jewelry, and etc. The purchase price for 23 systems that we are looking at needing to outfit so to speak, our entire district are run at $120,000. Again, when we look at what we're trying to do with the size of our schools is the efficiency of being able to push through. When I spoke with the representative at Security Detection Solutions, who I spoke with regarding the Garrett system, and he was giving me the pros of the system and what all they can offer with it. He says if you're trying to move more than 400 people through this within an hour, I recommend you use the Evolve system. And this is the person who is supposed to be selling me his equipment. He says if you're pushing that many people, you need to go to the Evolve system. What we have today is I have my reps from Evolve and from Alliance. They've been so kind to bring us a system for you all to be able to see how it works, to look at, see the setup, the benefits of it. Because I strongly believe that this system, for what we need for our district, is going to be beneficial. In addition to what you can move 2,000 people through it in an hour with a single lane, which is what we have here. We also have the ability, and what we're looking at is also getting one dual lane, which will go out at the high school, and that dual lane can get up to 4,000 people through it in a very short period of time. If you've gone to Six Flags, you've walked through it. If you've gone to the Mercedes-Benz Stadium, you went through it. Of course, you've already, in your Disney trip, have walked through it. Our community partner of Wild Adventures, they currently have an Evolve system there. Had the opportunity to go out there and talk with their security manager, and she said the difference in just them having that one system. They used to have the traditional metal detectors. They had 8 across the front. You would have to provide, at minimum, 2 or more people just to be able to get people through, and as they beep with whatever they have, to pull them to the side to be able to conduct a search. And when you're searching with the traditional system, you leave a lot of what you discover up to human error. If you don't search thoroughly for wherever you're getting the beep, having to figure that out, then you're going to have something to come into the campus that could harm anybody. So the goal is to be able to have a system like Evolve, which is non-invasive, it's efficient, it is not left up to human error. What we also don't want to do is contribute to the idea that we or any other district is discriminate in who we search and how. That disparate treatment among minorities. This system does not discriminate. It's going to identify exactly where that particular threat is, and we're going to do a demo here just in a few seconds to show you what it does to identify the who, where the threat is, if there is a threat, and you move to the side, you search that particular area. Gives us reasonable suspicion to search that area. We search just that area alone. There is no wanding up and down. It goes directly to the area you can search. And if you find a threat, and if it's a weapon, we notify school resource officers, and they come and they do their end, and we can handle our side administratively as well. Again, it's no waiting. And we had Evolve, who is the manufacturer. They came a couple of months ago and did site surveys for all of our schools. So we were able to determine the number of the 23 systems. This is Mr. Eric Smiles with Evolve, who came out and did our site survey to let us know what we have. And then of course we have to make some adjustments because every school will get down to 2 systems. With the exception of Horn Learning Center, they will only have 1 because of the size of their school, as well as Becca will only have 1. And then the high school, we were able to get it down to where we would have 3 entrances where they would come through this system to include the front of the school. The other benefit of having the Evolve system is we have the ability to take these systems from the schools on Friday nights and have them, not only just Friday nights for football, but also basketball, baseball, should we see fit to do that. But we would have that available to us, because we know, again, that there are also incidents that have occurred at football games or at sporting and athletic events. And again, we want to be proactive. Safety is the primary, and it's a priority for our district and for our students and for our teachers. Just think the extra added being able to excel as a teacher when you know, hey, I can go in and teach my class and not have to worry about if any of my students have anything that can cause mass casualties. And it's at the front door. You cannot get into the building without going through it. The cost for the Evolve system, we were able to, our lowest quote that we were able to get came from Alliance. And there, the sheet that is on the top after you get behind all of the information. For a 4-year subscription, it'll be $2,674,522.83, and this is for a 4-year period. And the reason there is a subscription price, a lot of companies, and we've seen it with some of our other providers, are moving from ownership to the subscription. The difference between those two is if you purchase, the price is higher, of course, but then you lose out on the support, the annual maintenance, the fix it beyond the years of the manufacturer's warranty. So for the first year for all of the systems, we're looking at the cost will be $708,193.95, and then it goes down to $655,442.96 in the subsequent years to come up with that 4-year total.
I got a quick question on those totals, because we're looking at single lane, right?
Yes.
But the subscription says it's dual lane subscription. Is there a different price, or was that just a
Now,
typo?
if
or
you look at the
mistake?
top, there's a single lane price at the top. That's the one that says 22. Then you have the Evolve Express dual lane wireless. That's the same thing. The wireless subscription, both of them say it. That's a 1 because we'll have a dual system, which is double lanes.
So we are getting a dual system.
Yes,
One
for the
high
one
school.
for the high school.
Okay, sorry, I was lost.
No problem.
Didn't pay attention good, I guess. I'm sorry.
No problem. So one of the things that we've learned about one of the advantages of using the Evolve system is that we have the ability on the second to last page of the information that you have is the Evolve system meets 4 of the requirements to be able to use care funds for. And I'll let Dr. Hudson go in a little bit more in detail in regard to the financial side of it, because that's his expertise. Does anybody have any questions? Want to do it? We'll show you. What we're going to do is show you a demo. I'm going to ask Miss Casey if she will help, and my brother over here, if you will. We're going to go around this door on the outside. What I like for you to do, Mr. Lee, you get to have your own system right here. I'd like for you to pay attention to this screen here. If you'll go follow Dr. Hudson around that way, and if you'll pay attention to this screen as well. Let me move it around so you guys can see it. You good? Got your glasses on? You ready?
Yeah.
This is the one that'll.
And well, better, I can't see.
Oh, well, I know how long is about.
So what will happen traditionally is they don't even have to come through, hold on just a second. They don't even have to come through one at a time, but simply because of where we are, we're gonna bring everybody through. As a matter of fact, we're gonna come 2 by 2. So we're gonna have Dr. Hudson and Casey to come through in just a moment. So what'll happen is you'll have a person who is the flow control person. That's this person here. So you will only have to have 2 people to work this system. This is the flow control person that basically just says if it beeps, hey, you need to go over here to this. And it's going to show you a picture of what everything is, and it's going to send you. This person over here will see what alert. So whatever alert hit this person over here, you're going to be the search person demo for today. Thank you kindly. It's going to show you where you need to search. So you don't have to go and do the one and then try to find it. It's going to be. And I'm also going to go back out of the back as well and walk through. So for what you will see, Dr. Hudson has in his hand is one of our Google Chromebooks, which is a computer. And so we'll just travel through and let you see how it works.
Nice bag, Doc.
Thank you.
Looking good.
I'm sorry. Got you, Sabrina.
Got you
You
good.
go
Big
over there
old
to the
boss
search
right there.
area.
See, and you'll see how, so Dr. Hudson first, right?
Dr. Hudson first.
Clearly on his bag.
So if they bring Dr. Hudson to me, this is what's going to happen. I already know exactly where it's at. It's in the bag. Person who will thoroughly conduct the search will take everything out of this bag. Nothing. Something.
Ah,
So, a clear bag, I could get it in if I had it hidden like I had it hidden. If we go with we just go to clear bags. I can hide this in a clear bag, and it would go through the entire day unless I pulled it out with someone knowing.
is that wood or is that metal?
That's metal.
Okay, but it
Not-
goes
not-
off of shape. I mean, does it not?
So it goes up to shape, density,
Yeah.
and ferrous metal of
Okay.
a weapon.
Of weapon, okay.
Because those things, because I get stopped every time at Disney, and it's always my
Glass
glass.
case.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's one of those clamshells.
And the
So
reason for that is because the eyeglass case, if the hardness is hollow in there, but it represents a pipeline
yeah.
to the system.
I mean, I never mind because I always know what it is, and I'll tell them like, "Hey, my eyeglass case is right there." But I will. One question, because the last time we were down in Orlando, they were telling us that we were setting it off too because of like a portable phone charger, which I know that may be something that a lot of kids might
Yeah.
have with it.
I'll address that. So I have one. So it's rarely the case, and what you'll find is that operators tend to have a lot of turnover at Disney. Not speaking bad,
Well,
but here you go,
yes,
get
yes.
the portable charger. Right, nothing happened.
Okay.
And what you'll find is because they may be used to operating a traditional metal detector, they just say that that's it. But the only time that this may go off is if you had maybe 4 of these all next to each other.
Oh, okay.
Right, and they're all lined up. It's going to err on the side of caution. That could set it off, but this as a whole, no.
Okay.
This is
Okay.
should not work.
And,
Double
as you-
check.
and real quick, as you notice, we walk through with our cell phones and stuff like that.
Right.
And a traditional metal detector, you have to take this out.
Yes.
Right.
With our system, you don't.
Again, it's non-intrusive. There's no laying stuff down and then going through. You can come through, again, because of where we are, okay, these two are gonna go through. So who has it?
Got some in your pocket.
Dr. Hudson?
It's still six.
Nope.
Nuh-uh,
No,
it's
no.
not
So
that.
the reason that you're still seeing this is because of what
Right there.
Ms.
There
Smith
it
said
is.
earlier. So that one's going to be the most recent alarm because that's the flow
It's
control
gonna
of pulling
come
people
over.
out. This is going to queue them up in the order received so that you address that potential first threat. And then what you would do is, this is obviously from the previous part. Ms. Smith searched Dr. Hudson bag. We get click. That was a firearm. And then it brings her up, right? Clearly a firearm. Right on her right side. Click that. And then now you go. Here's the latest one. Because they want to be in the order that they're received over here so that the person doing the search has them in that order as they're queued up.
Yeah,
So
the
that's
late-
why you're seeing it like that.
The latest one is the big one over here.
And they're seeing it like this over here.
Yeah.
So that's the only difference between these two tablets.
Right.
Now, in this instance where you have a scenario like that, this has come part of the training as well. You have a scenario where you have two people come through, and you have a square on both of them. The training says pull them both over.
Right.
Okay, and then have them both walk through separately again.
But obviously, in this scenario, this is very clearly
Yes.
on his, you know,
Right,
his right
right,
side.
right.
So there'd be no reason to stop there, right? He would continue class.
Pretty slick.
I love this system.
So financially, question is how do we fund a system like this? Wonderful people, and Dr. Hudson can answer that question for us.
Just keep in mind, and Mr. Lee, we were at a meeting on last night, but the state is going to give each school $50,000 to use towards safety. And so, not sure if that's gonna be a continuation, but I know there will be a one-time drop for this school term with $50,000 for us to use towards safety. So that will be for 8 schools, because remember, VECA and HLC are not, they don't have school codes, so they won't qualify
50
for
per?
50 per school. And so that'll be 50 times 8, so that's 400,000 there. I've also put in for CARES to pay for 5 of the systems for 1 year. And so that's $170,000 there. So if you take that 400 that we get from state, the 170 from CARES, that's 570, so that's gonna leave us with about 138 some thousand to get to that first year subscription. Then we can use either SPOS, or we can use general fund, or you can split fund it, 69,000 from the general fund, or you can take in $69,000 from SPOS for the first year.
Mr. Chair. All right, so question, all right, we're at 2,674,522.83 from Alliance. That's 4-year subscription, total cost for 4 years, right? Then we got installation, or am I reading this wrong?
That's
It's
included.
included.
Yeah.
So that's, all right, you're 2,000,006, then I'm looking at something that's 1,975,000. What is that, for mobile communications?
Yes, sir. That's a different different quote from a different company. Everything that Alliance has is on one page.
Okay,
So that number that you see at the bottom includes the shipping, the installation, the training, the annual maintenance, and any necessary repairs that they have to make during that time, and the support that they will provide during that 4 years.
So
okay,
what happens?
but so this is, I'm just saying,
I don't know what you're seeing.
okay, there you go. 'Cause mathematically, it doesn't make sense unless that's a
Okay,
1 year.
This is a different company. This is a third quote. This is from Mobile Communications of America in Tifton, and this is their 1-year quote of 1.9
question.
million.
Right.
So that's theirs.
4
And
year, 2.6, 1.9, 1 year.
for 1 year.
This is 4 year.
Right, yes, sir.
All
So
in. Got it.
Security Detection Solutions and Alliance is 4 years.
Pretty good spread.
Okay. So after the 4 years, what happens? We renegotiate, get.
Renew the subscription, yes, sir.
Yeah, so no purchase of equipment. It's basically a lease. That's what we're doing.
So, yeah,
And
so
that was my
you're-
concern.
Yeah.
You're correct. It's not, so legally, it's not a lease. It's technically a subscription. But again, that's just a legal term. But you're right,
Right.
it's like a car lease, right?
Right.
So, the main reason is, and right, so I work for Alliance, but so Evolve has gone, you know, primarily towards subscription because you can almost guarantee that within 4 years, there will be new hardware, right? So the advantage is if you own this, so now it's still a 4-year agreement, so you're paying for all the software. But if this changes in 4 years, now you're stuck with a piece of hardware that's 4 years old. Not to say that there's necessarily a bad thing with that, but
At
you're
some
then in
point,
year
it
five.
becomes unsupported, just like
Right,
computers.
you're kind of in year 5 and you can renew the software, but 5-year-old hardware running brand new software, how much are you going to gain from that? And the real key to how this works is the software, right? So you're benefiting from that over the 4 years anyway, right? Benign items change, like that portable charger, they can have a different one. The software is what's running that algorithm of threat versus non-threat. And they update that about 4 times a year. So as that happens, it'll get pushed down remotely. There's a Cradle Point router in here, so this isn't on your school network. And that's how those updates will get pushed down. And then obviously as the hardware improves, to your question of what happens after 4 years, well, you could negotiate a new lease or subscription, and then all this equipment would be taken out, and then you get the newest hardware put back in. If you were to continue it, right? You could just walk away from it at that point.
In regards to the 12 TB, is that here or that be somewhere else?
I'm
Or
not
is that
sure.
reading the right one?
What's that?
Does this system comes with automatic, air recorder or
Video recorder.
video
Yeah,
recorder?
So the only piece that you guys are looking at, and it might be easier just to show you, is this. This is so the camera right here, it's right here on the tower. When someone alerts, it's taking a quick screenshot, right, for the flow control. And then over here, you'll notice you have that short video, right, and so that you guys can see.
Okay.
That's the only recording that's being done on these. And then the first 100 scans are saved on the tablet here. So if we look here, if you were to say, hey, we need to go back and look something, you can click history and you'll see the last 100 of only the alerts. Now locally they're stored on the tower. If for some reason you needed to go back and say, hey, we need to take a look at this. But this is not actively recording every single person that comes through, and that's done purposely.
Just the hits.
Just the hit.
Just the
Yeah.
hits.
We would use our existing camera system if there's anything else that we need to utilize for whatever. Did somebody pass it off to the next person or whatever the case may be, we would utilize our camera system to be able to determine that. So the systems are independent of each other.
Yeah, because we're gonna wanna have, because if somebody starts claiming that, you know, well, you searched me improperly, da-da-da-da, so we're gonna have,
Oh.
we've got that, we can go back to here, plus we've got our system, so we maybe, it sounds like we have, if we had to go back,
10,000 scans are stored locally on this. So you could remote in. If you see on here, there's something called a scan ID. Right here. It'll say here. So if you were to have an incident, you could call remote support. They'll pull this directly in an encrypted version for law enforcement purposes. But the reason that it's kept separate, one of the reasons is, right, we're not collecting any, and you can confidently tell your parents this, there's no personally identifiable information collected. This does not say that this is Miss Smith or that this is Brooks. So that's why that's why everyone that walks through isn't recorded. If you don't have anything, there's no reason for us to look at you. If you're pulled off to the side, that goes to, you can point to, this is where we looked, right? We didn't look anywhere else. So that's kind of where the strategy of where that plays in.
and we wanna make sure we have our cameras in location whenever we make a decision on whatever we do, that are showing that search area for sure.
Yes, sir.
It's,
So that they're working properly.
yeah,
Yes.
probably,
And I stay on top of that.
yeah. Well, Mr. Chair, it's, of course, now we gotta figure out the money, but
Well,
it's,
that's, and
it's,
not just now, but we're looking at taking on a whole new budget. And, at last night's meeting, something came up that was very important that, this board and all other boards are gonna have to address. It's an add-on line item now that we didn't, maybe should have always had, but we never had. And that's a security budget. And your security budget for your system. This is where we are now.
mm-hmm,
The big question that I have, and I'm sure other folks gonna have too, is here now, may help now. However, you're looking at taking on a huge budget now for security. Sure wanna get the best, but we talked years ago about having detectives just to give us something to, make sure that weapons weren't getting on campus. Nothing is 100% proof. We all know that. I think it's just been proven today. So that's where I am. I mean, you know, that, we can say that 4 million easily, but actually having that money, that's why.
No, I understand, but I think you're gonna have to, the metal detector side of the world is just not feasible simply because you can't push the people through it.
No.
Right.
And then you can't, I mean, you'd have to start intake at the high school at 6 o'clock in the morning. It's, I mean, you'd have to have 3 hours
Right.
plus.
So, but then you have to also follow the
Yeah.
question, what happens when this is out of order?
When it's what?
When it's out of order?
I can address some of that. So, like I spoke to, because of the Cradle Point router, so there's 24/7 remote support. A lot of the time you can just call in if something's rebooted, they'll remote in, and if they can address it remotely, they'll configure it. Over the 4-year period, anything outside of negligence is covered as well. So if they were diagnosed remotely that something's not working properly, then the part will be overnighted, and then a technician will come on site. The other thing I'll just, right, so you're still waiting for that period. By design, as Eric conducted all the site surveys, right, the high school would have 3, middle schools and elementaries mostly 2. All of those schools, you could still get through one system in the morning, right? In theory, you could. So, and that's just because of the throughput capacity. And that's what we'll see happen, because I'll be honest with you, it could happen, right? Things break. And it's
100%.
unfortunate for that day, but then you get it back online and you're back to normal operation. That one day may be stressful on staff just because so many people are coming through, but you can do it, and still, actively screen, so.
And y'all are out of where?
So Alliance is based out of Hanover, Maryland, but we've got regional offices.
I'm just, in that situation, it begs the question is where would our tech be coming from?
So I'm one of the solutions engineer in the Southeast region. So we have 4 of us here. We have some micro technicians as well. But if an emergency, I'm 3 hours away.
Gotcha.
And also on the financial side, and I know finance is a major concern, but let me put this out there. Years 2, 3, 4, it's gonna be $655,000 if the board decides to go this route. What we can do is, like Mr. Lay say, we can put a line item in our budget for safety. But we can split fund it between SPOS and your general fund. Or you can pay for it all out of SPOS, because this was a part of the SPOS referendum. So, but if you split fund it and you put $327,000 in your general fund budget, so as we're building that general fund budget for each year, for the next couple of years, we'll say, okay, we need $327,000 in there to cover safety, and then you take the other $327,000 from eSPOS. So, we have some ways to cover this.
Yeah, so your annual expense is $655,000, basically is what you're doing. So,
I would, if you've ever had to go through these systems, I mean, it's a thing of beauty to see them work, how quickly they can move. I mean, you go to Disney and that's, a couple 100,000 people a day going through that system, and it is continually moving. I mean, they can pinpoint exactly where something is. I mean, I'm all for this, and I think we do what we got to do to make it work, because I think this is a fantastic option.
and I think we get
With
it
the
to-
number of systems that you're saying that we need, are these systems already in stock, have to be built, or what type of time we're talking about getting them in?
Yeah, so I can speak to that. So, Eric and I set this one up, this morning in about half an hour. Granted, this is a demo system, so it's a little bit more straightforward. But in terms of timeline, so current lead times on the hardware itself, right, to get it out of the warehouse, is about 4 to 6 weeks. Pushing closer to 4 weeks. The installation is typically the longer part. The reason is because, as you guys can imagine, summer is approaching, and there's dozens of school systems that want to do the same thing. So Right now, our installation schedule is open in about the May timeframe, right? That's kind of, so the next 6 weeks to 8 weeks is booked up. So then you're looking into May. For an install of Valdosta City Schools size of 23 systems and the amount of schools you have, I was talking to Ms. Smith about it. I would say 2 to 3 weeks, closer to 2 weeks. Now that period includes the installation, the training, and then supporting you guys going live. So what we found, so Alliance, right, we've worked with Evolve for over a year now. We've done their largest school deployments, right? We did Clayton County up in Georgia. We're about to do DeKalb County. We've done all over North Carolina. What we found is you can unbox these and leave them at the school and walk away, but that's not reality, right? So part of the time is the 23 systems would likely be physically installed in about 2 to 3 days at all of the entrances. But then we'd have to go to every school and we'll train each school individually, right? So before any students are walking through, and this is all our project management team maps all this out, but they would schedule a 1.5 hour, 2 hour time frame that works with every individual school, go around, turn on the systems, get everyone prepared. And then the third step is, okay, spend the first couple days at every school. So we'd rotate through the district, our team, and say, all right, we're gonna have the students come through now, and we'll be on site for those first couple days of operation, because that's when you really learn how to use this efficiently. Or you can theorize about all you want, but actually watching 800 students, 2,000 students come through in a school, and then just the operational procedures of that, that's what we'll support for those first couple days. So that's why I say an estimated time frame would be about 2 weeks for everything.
Mr. Chair, if we were to do something like this is primarily for y'all and for us. But on those timelines you're talking, you're looking at install, you're into May now, so we're in our summer.
Mm-hmm.
So we'd have to schedule that. We could do some training then with personnel, but students aren't gonna be back until August.
Right.
So
that's
we
when
wouldn't actually
right. So that's
just-
part of what we would work with your team on is like when are the teachers available? I'll give you an example. We did Clayton County last year, and they started August 1st. So everything got installed and trained the last 2 weeks of July, and then we were there the first week of August for when the students showed up. I will say this, I would recommend, we've done several districts on the first day of school. I would encourage you not to do the first day of school, unless you guys have a really good reason to do it, and some districts are adamant that it happens. But what we found, again, this is just from experience, students don't even know what classroom they're going to, teachers are new to the building. There's just so much going on the first day outside of this that even waiting a week or two to do it can be helpful. The alternative is, and again, this is, we'll work with you from your perspective on what you want to do. The alternative is we want to set the tone on day one. And that's what some districts say, right, is from day one, we want to have this. So it's a balance, and we can talk about it.
Any other questions?
That's all we have.
Thank you.
I guess the basic thing now then is, that we check and make sure that the finances that's been discussed are able to be utilized for this. And then once that is done, Doc, let's put it on the agenda for the full board to discussion. And if possible, I guess that will be next month. Do we have a meeting
We have a meeting Tuesday.
Tuesday night?
Got Tuesday, yeah.
If you got everything ready, then just,
You go and shoot that pricing out to everybody, this afternoon, so they can look at the numbers.
I'll put it on the agenda.
Mr. Chair, I did have one question, doesn't relate to that, but it does relate to security. Where are we on SROs at all the schools? 'Cause I know we talked about that one time.
I just recently spoke, of course, we did, contract out to have officers, to sign up for like extra duty to cover Silas Mahone and Becca. And so we've been getting pretty consistent coverage with that. I spoke with the commander at the police department, last week. And he advised me that they're getting ready to go into, giving us another person. So we would have, at that point, an SRO at all of the schools, and they're looking at being able to also provide an SRO for VECA. So we have the SRO for Silas Mahone, who has been out on maternity leave. She will return, estimated the first part of May for her school, and then they're looking at getting us another person who will go to VECA, and we would have every school covered at that particular point.
And so while on maternity leave, we contract off duty out there, or we just don't have anybody there?
No, we have somebody there.
Yeah.
Yes, sir, contract officer.
Yeah.
I mean, they're there every day, like the whole day, or?
Yes, from 7 o'clock to 3 o'clock at Silas Mahone, and the contract for VECA is from 8 to 2. And again, it has been working out very well with
Yeah.
making sure that we have someone on those
Somebody,
campuses.
right.
And they've been very active. Of course, I did set the expectations with them ahead of time of being active, not just being there, but walking the campuses, checking doors. They're given a key and a radio and a computer once they get there. They have access to the cameras at the schools and interacting with the children very positively. So the responses back from that has been great.
Good.
Thank you.
Now the timeline of when that's going to happen, don't have a pinpoint date, but he did tell me he was working on that.
Get the permanent,
Getting that other person from
permanent,
VECA.
that's all,
Yes, sir.
yeah. As long as we keep somebody at all of them all the time, whether
Yes,
we
sir.
got a contractor or not, for sure.
Anything else, committee member?
I'm good.
Okay, appreciate, you all being here and, the demonstration, and appreciate staff and you, Dr. Hudson. If nothing else, meeting is adjourned.